Welcome to Talk Purpose and Truth with Eden and Kim, shifting you into higher consciousness, the show that elevates, uplifts, and encourages listeners to grow, heal, awaken, and evolve. Eden and Kim include bold topics, special interviews with inspiring guests, intuitive readings, channeled messages from beyond, including celebrities, hot topics to expand your awareness, and time for questions from the audience. Tune in for unprecedented truth, authenticity, on-purpose discussions, and magical moments.
I want to first say that I have known our guest for many years. I think it's been almost 10 years now, and she's a dear friend. She's a dear friend of mine, and gosh, we met back when I was doing Willow Tree Women's Circle in LA and Orange County, and she started attending, and we connected and started to hang out and become friends and have quite a large amount of mutual friends in our circle and our circles, I would say. She went through my life coach certification program, and I know her family, and her daughter used to babysit my kids and all kinds of things. She's very close to my kids as well. And so I want to introduce Barbi. I'm going to have her tell you all more about her, but she is a successful author and coach. She helps coach people and counsel people that are victims of sexual abuse and different trauma, PTSD, any types of mental health issues that she will go into and explain more. She does some speaking. She does interviews on podcasts like ours. And she's just a really special, amazing person. And then Eden, you know her a little bit as well from doing readings and from going to events.
Yes, you introduced us, and I got to do a reading for her. Yes, and I'm not going to talk about what happened in the session unless she wants to, but it's similar to the topic of the day what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll start. So welcome, okay. Barbi.
Thank you. That's quite an introduction. So thank you very much. Thank you as well. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. And I wanna first, I want you to tell everyone at the beginning and at the end of the show, your way to find you, like your website or your social media.
Okay, well, my social media, I'm on all avenues of social media, and it's just under Barbi Jolliffe. So that you can, and it's BARBI Jolliffe, JOLLIFFE. My website is barbijolliffe.coaching.com. So you can find me. Then my phone number is really easy on my Gmail to find from any of those, or any way to contact me from any. I'm on all social media platforms.
Awesome. Yeah, and although we'll be going into several different topics today, I feel that this is something that we haven't really deeply talked about on the show. We like to talk about different mental health awareness topics, and this is something that someone listening might have experienced or knows someone who's experienced, and it may help them. And so I just wanted to make sure that they know how to reach you.
Okay. And I would just want to say also, in what we're about to talk about, there's no shame in talking about the truth, sharing your stories in something like this, because it can be, there's a stigma around this.
Right. We're reducing that stigma. So that's what's important. So I know your passion and purpose, Barbi, is to help people heal trauma, especially those who've experienced sexual abuse. I also know this began from your own traumatic experiences with your family experiencing this. Can you tell us your story, or so obviously a short version, and,
right.
And how did you heal?
My story is, I am a mom of 5 amazing grown humans, but about 14 years ago, we started realizing that my oldest son was kind of slipping away, doing some, acting abnormal, cutting and doing a few things. So long story short, fast forward, we find out that he has been abused by our Catholic priest. We're in a small rural community, so it's a very, very small, he's like a family friend besides being the priest. we move out of the area, put him in recovery because he's into drugs and alcohol, put him into recovery. We got one daughter married, one in college, take the twins who are our youngest and move to Southern California and put them in a performing arts school, which is where I met you right after that. And then my youngest son came forward to let us know that he had been abused too. And so it was really quite a nightmare. It's like a nightmare twice that you're going through over and over. And as I was trying to heal everybody, my kids, get the boys help, get the girls help, because the whole family's falling apart over something that traumatic. I really discovered was my passion to help others get through this and to find all the ways I could to heal myself, heal my family, heal the kids, and help others heal, because it's such a traumatic thing to go through for the survivors, but also for the families and the loved ones of a survivor, because it's just as hard for them when all of a sudden you find out your loved one has been abused.
Were the boys abused by the same priest?
Yes.
Okay.
They were. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I know you have worked with other survivors now who experience PTSD for,
right.
Yeah. And what is it like to work with them, and how do they heal from it?
PTSD is very common. My youngest son, in fact, had PTSD related full grand mal chronic tonic seizures for a couple of years before he came forward and told us. Just kept saying he knew about his brother. And then afterwards, he still had him for a long time till he worked through a lot of the trauma. And he still has to really keep on track of himself. PTSD is extremely common in all sexual abuse, and also for the families too, because you are just in complete shock, and you have to really learn what your triggers are. You have to learn, what days of the week, what days of the month or the year, what scents, what colors, what roads you drive down. There's all sorts of things that can trigger a person, especially the survivor. And then the loved one has to really watch what things are going to trigger their survivor so that they can kind of help them and work around that. But PTSD is so common because you're remembering it.
Yeah.
And didn't he pass away, the priest, before you had a chance to report anything?
Yes, he did. That's why the boys actually came forward so young. Yeah. Most people, the average age for a man to come forward is between 48 and 52.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
But they felt safe enough to come forward because he had passed away?
Yes.
Wow.
And when I asked my oldest son 2 days after he died, I had asked him again, because we'd been asking him a few times, and he said, yeah, why? And I said, why hadn't you ever said anything before? And he said, because I promised him.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. Because they're groomed. They're very groomed.
Yes. Right. And I don't know if you want to share about your experience with me.
Sure.
That's the one who, can I say it?
Sure. No, go ahead. Uh-huh.
The priest came through in the reading.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about it, that this had happened to her boys, and he came through. It was, I don't know how you can say how that felt for you.
It was awful. It was actually awful, and we had to really stop things for a little bit and make him not go away. And it was it was just amazing that as soon as we started, there he was, and Eden didn't know. And it was really bad, really dark energy immediately.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you when he came through, Eden, were you able to tell if he had crossed over, or was he kind of stuck, or you don't know?
Oh, do you mean that he fully transitioned?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember. It was a while ago, but I think I think he was on the other side. But what happens is, in my experience, I can say that they go to a darker place when they have karma like that.
Mm-hmm. They have to.
So he wasn't in the light.
Right. Okay. Okay.
He has very dark karma. There was many boys before my boys. There always are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's something with sexual abuse that's common, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
it's many.
Oh, always. They don't just have one. No.
Yeah. And then backtracking a little bit, you mentioned that one of your sons had seizures. Was that because of a PTSD?
Yes.
Okay, so it can affect the physical too.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. You know that there's a book called The Body Keeps Score?
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
It's a phenomenal book, and it's very big in the sexual abuse world. We recommend it a lot to survivors in my leadership group that I'm in, and we recommend it quite a bit. It's a very, very good book. It is so true. If you do not really work through that trauma, it's going to manifest itself and come out at some point in your life in something not healthy, because
Yeah,
it does.
and that's with pretty much every trauma.
Every trauma. It is. It's not only that trauma. That book is not only about sexual abuse trauma. It's just letting you know that you have to work through the trauma, because it is going to.
Right.
It'll come up. We had Dr. Sarah Evans on not too long ago, and she talked about how Freud said that hysteria was whatever gets repressed gets expressed.
Very true.
Yeah, so that goes along with that book.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It will come up no matter what.
Right. I listened to her. She's very good.
Yeah. And so one of your ways that, besides what you do now with coaching and counseling people that have gone through things like this, one of the ways to heal was also talking about it in books. And so can you talk about how you did that, and how it felt?
It was, I was just starting to be able to talk about it, and so it was good for me to write it out and feel stronger. Every time, when you're first being able to talk about your story, you feel stronger every time you do, because you heal more every time you're able to tell your story, especially when you're first at that point of being able to tell it, because you feel so ashamed for so long and so much guilt. So writing it was really good, and it was really healing, even more so to be able to write it and to realize that, it wasn't it was a terrible thing, but it wasn't something so many people, it's happened to so many people, and most people keep it hidden and quiet and don't want anybody to know. And so people really need to realize that it's okay to say it. And then right after that, more and more has come out. After I put that story out, the gymnastics have come out, and there's so much more. So it's not just the Catholic Church, it's everywhere, and everybody needs to tell a story, or everybody needs to at least reach out and get some help. If you don't want to tell your story, that's fine. You can keep quiet. You just still need to be able to deal with it so that you can heal.
Right. And it's coming out more even with the Me Too movement, and women are realizing, oh, well, that wasn't appropriate. Because it was so, even I remember even being a hostess at restaurants, being 16 and having my ass grabbed, or the managers coming around and acting like they want to get with me, and they were adults, and not getting upset by it, just going, oh, well, that's just how men are. And
exactly.
It was more like that then, and it's nice that it's coming out oh, no, that's not acceptable,
It definitely, it's very nice that that's not coming out, that it's not acceptable, because we did take a lot of that and just didn't think anything about it. A lot of things happened that we let slide, and then that at least, our daughters hopefully won't.
Right. They won't experience it. Absolutely. Hopefully.
What should people look out for with these predators to avoid?
Yeah.
Well, you should never, in my case, I was what you would consider a cradle Catholic. My husband, we both were, our whole family. We were born and raised Catholic. So we just gave trust no matter what, that unwarranted trust. Oh, he's a priest. You didn't even, decide whether you liked him or not. You just trusted him because they're a priest. That's what you knew to do. In a lot of organized religions, that's just the way it is. The new pastor, the new rabbi, the new whatever comes in, you just trust them because that's what you're supposed to do, especially if you are born and raised into that religion. So you should always really listen to your gut feeling. Turn off that monkey chatter and really be aware and talk to your kids. Talk to your kids. Tell them, teach them that nobody is supposed to touch those places, and teach them the proper names of of their body parts. And so they can feel free to tell you if anybody ever does. No secrets. Always tell your kids, no secrets, no secrets. And, even a coach, a teacher, anybody, a neighbor, somebody in your family, most children are abused by somebody that they know. So make sure that you listen to your gut feelings. Do not ever overrule your gut feeling.
Yeah. And where are some of the most common places that this happens?
Everywhere. There is it happens absolutely everywhere. It is just as common at a church as at school as it is with the next door neighbor, the grandpa, the uncle, the mother, the father. I mean, just as many little girls as little boys. It's almost equal how many are abused, and it happens absolutely everywhere.
We had in my younger daughter's class, 4th grade class, the teacher was accused of doing that. We still to this day don't know if it really happened, but he was fired. Yeah, he did have little girls sit on his lap. And that, these days you can't do that.
No, you can't. No, you can't do. Well, and here's the thing you need to always remember. Kids don't make up that. A child's mind doesn't think about sexual things. So a child doesn't make up that somebody an adult did that to them. Their mind doesn't. So if they tell you those things happen, it happened, because they don't, and 70% of the time, children are not believed by adults. Adults think, oh, they're making that up. That person is such a nice person, but they're not. Okay, and so then they tell you, and then they keep quiet, because then they think, well, nobody believed me. And the predator has told the kid over and over, nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to believe you. And then they might say something and nobody does. But if a child says it, if you think of a child's mind, they're not going to imagine that some adult did that to them. Their minds don't, occasionally there's a very sick child, but 99% of the kids, they don't. They don't imagine those things.
Yeah, we have to believe them.
For someone who has experienced this, or for those out there that have some sort of trauma or PTSD, I know a lot of them feel like they're drowning in it and feel like they'll never feel better. What are some words of encouragement, or what do you suggest they do first to get healing? Because you're just proof right here that you can if you want to, and your family has done very well with that. And so, what would you say?
It is. You can if you want to, and I would start. Everybody has access to the internet. You can look up all sorts of things to do to help you with PTSD, all sorts of exercises and meditations and things to balance yourself, and go on walks and drink lots of water and get out, and look up my coaching program and go through the 10 modules of that. There's just so many things that we have resources that people, even 10 years ago when I was starting this journey, we didn't have the resources that are available now. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars going to school to learn all these resources that are just available at you can just do now. So there's so much that people can do. And, really having bad PTSD, there is no shame in therapy. And there is no shame in go to a good therapist. There's so many wonderful therapists that people need to.
Absolutely. And your online program is amazing. And I, was privileged to,
thank you.
work on it and read through it with you. And I just feel like it's a must for people experiencing this, and you can work on it on your own or with her. That's the beauty of it if you're not ready yet to work with someone. But from my own experience as well, just struggling with different things, I feel like you keep searching until you find the right person to work with, and there is a solution out there, but sometimes you do have to keep searching until it just gets just right. You know what I mean?
You do. Oh, you definitely do. You do. You have to, there's so many different coaches and therapists and programs, and you have to keep searching till you find the one you click with. And then when you do, you really do fit and you really do grow, but you can't give up. You have to, and you have to have the will. If you really want to get better and lead a better life and find joy and happiness again, it's not just going to come to you and one day you're going to magically wake up and everything's going to be better. We have to really work at it. I mean, to really go through the trenches that we're in, we have to really pull ourselves out of them. And it's hard. It's so hard. And it's hard, it's hard every day, a lot of times, but you still have to know that it's, there is good out there, and life's a beautiful thing. So we have to just really, work hard to get all that put back away.
Well, and I think you have such a good balance of being compassionate and non-judgmental and warm, but you also have like the right pushing, like assertiveness, to where you are like, all right, you're gonna heal here, damn it. I think that's such a great balance in something like this. It's like, that's, you're obviously meant to do this.
Well, thank you. I mean, I just feel such a passion for it, but I don't, there are people that, if you don't want to help yourself, you can't help somebody. I have a son that my heartbreak, my cross to bear. It's my heartbreak every day that I can't help him, because you can't help somebody if they don't want to help themselves. And that was one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn. And it's very, very hard.
Yeah. I was going to ask you how your boys are.
My youngest son is good. He works at everything. He stays, on top of his stuff. He stays with a great therapist. He does really well. He gets up and exercises and does what he needs to do to stay okay. My oldest son is not good, and he hasn't been good in a long time, and he doesn't want to change that.
So you're expressing, there's like a difference, such a difference between the two, because there's one who chose to do the work and one who is not doing the work. So you see right there the result.
Right, exactly. And one, and there's other circumstances. I mean, my older son was abused at a much worse level, and my older son was also given drugs and alcohol. So by the time he came forward, he had been abused for a long time, which we didn't know. And he also was a drug addict by then, because the first person that ever gave him any of those was a priest. My younger son, because the priest had died, he was only abused. Any abuse is bad, but it was a shorter time frame, and he didn't get all of the drugs and alcohol because it was just didn't happen that way. Thank God.
Wow.
Thank goodness.
But he also, the older one, also isn't willing to go get help when you ask him to. So you can't make someone.
No, you can't. No. Oh, no. We've had him in and out of several recovery centers and several different things. He's done wonderful things when he's willing to, but he doesn't want to. Right now, he does not want to go through the pain of drying out and facing humans, because he has a lot of things he has to face. And he's just not strong enough to do that. It's also the strength, the will of a person, because like my younger son is a much stronger constitution of a person, I feel. I mean, my older son obviously is, because he keeps living through all the stuff, but in a different sense of a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For more information on Eden, go to edensustin.com. For more information on Kim, go to kimlifecoach.com. Make sure to follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Talk Purpose and Truth Podcast. If you loved this episode, you'll love every episode. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. thank you for listening.